Okay, we're here at the end of 2 days for the Thorium Energy Alliance Conference. It was a terrific conference, number 8, and we have a mix of newbies and veterans. I want to start with Heather and get her to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Heather Matteson of Mothers for Nuclear, and this is my first time at the Thorium Energy Alliance Conference. I'm really excited to be here among so many amazing pro-nuclear advocates and learn tips from them and share what I've been learning over the last year with Mothers for Nuclear.
Great. Alan.
I'm Alan Medsker. I'm from Chicago, and I work with Environmental Progress, which is an environmental organization that is pro-nuclear, and this is my 4th TEAC in 5 years, so I'm very excited to be here. It's always good to see everybody and feel the energy, learn new things about next generation nuclear technology, and also learn better how I can support existing nuclear technology, because we need everything that we can get.
Okay, Gary.
Gary Kahanak from Arkansas. This is my 2nd TEAC conference. My main interest in being here is to learn more about the topic, the technology, mainly so I can advocate for nuclear in our state. But it's just tremendous to see the talented people that are wanting to make a better world by providing new nuclear technologies and also advocating for our existing fleet. So it's great to be here.
Yeah, I like to connect with people on common values first. What do we care about that's similar? For me, I got into nuclear advocacy mostly because of climate change, air pollution, open space preservation, and to help people come out of poverty by giving them clean, reliable energy. And so usually when I try and engage with the public or someone who I don't know if they support nuclear or not, I try and find out what they care about first and talk about that, and then talk about how nuclear is the answer to that, because it actually is the answer to many things.
So how about an example of someone where you feel you succeeded, like getting someone to join us? Is there something you can tell us about your experiences?
I could tell a really funny story.
Sure.
Well, a few months ago in Berkeley, Kristen's the co-founder of Mothers for Nuclear, we met this homeless woman who was really upset that no one would buy her coffee, and she was a little unstable perhaps, but she was just so upset and she was crying, and so I just felt empathy for her, and so we started talking to her about her life, and she asked, we were wearing our Mothers for Nuclear sweaters, she asked about the symbol, and she said, oh no, nuclear power plants killed my father, and then a little bit later, it became, oh, well, yeah, it was my mother that died at a nuclear plant. And I could tell she didn't quite have her information straight, but she was scared of it, and that's all that really mattered. She thought that solar was going to save the day, and that the military had special solar panels that would still give you power at night, even when the sun wasn't shining. And so we told her, very gently, like, no, there's no such thing, and we're advocating for nuclear, because we think we need it for the future, for our children, to keep protecting nature around us while also bringing up human quality of life. And she kind of, okay, I kind of see that. But then we bought her coffee, and she felt better, and she's like, that Mothers for Nuclear thing, I want to really give that another think. I want to learn more about that, because it sounds like a really good idea. And so like anyone that you meet, I think if you just connect with them and show empathy for things that they care about, they will be open to hearing what you care about too.
That's a touching story. That's really good. How about Alan? What do you discover? What kind of obstacles or what kind of successes have you had?
Well, I'm an engineer by profession, and not anything nuclear, but what that means is I tend to want to answer questions and provide all of the possible information that I can in the most compact version that I can. But sometimes it's not so compact and it goes on for a long time, and so I have to be really self-disciplined about how I approach people that have that I encounter that are not comfortable with nuclear energy, so I think I need to get a lot better at at Heather's approach, but which is to connect, with common values. But what I also try to do is ask them, well, what is it that concerns you about that? And let them kind of, let that all out as best they can and explain it as best they can. And just, bite my tongue until, they're actually done explaining what it is they want to explain before I jump in to try to correct them or something. And instead of doing that, instead of correcting them, ideally you want to try to make sure that they know that you heard them and that you understand what it is. So, probably the best way to do that is to say back to them, so your concern is, whatever it is. And then you can maybe share some information about why you are not concerned. And, there's a line between you telling them they don't have to be concerned or that they shouldn't be concerned, and you telling them that you are not concerned about that. And there's a very different thing that people hear when you say one way versus the other. So that's really the way that I think I've been successful has been when I've empathized more and I've not really dictated anything, and that's really difficult for me, but I'm working on it.
That's good. I mean, that's part of the great process. You're following what you believe, but also you're growing as a person yourself.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Gary. You have 90 people that you signed up or recruited.
Well, not quite 90. I'm just at the beginning stage of sort of a formal, advocacy effort in Arkansas. And right now, most of my friends and acquaintances are self-described environmentalists. And they're very anti-nuclear for the most part. So I'm still working through that. I have found that because they're friends or they know me and they trust me, they don't automatically discount what I say. So I think that in any part of this, it's important to have some type of connection. I think that Generation Atomic is a good example of that. They find that just having a conversation with someone face to face, if you can establish a little bit of trust, that goes a long ways.
That's good. Back to you, Heather. If someone were to say to you, how can you be so confident that nuclear is safe? And what if something went wrong? What would, where do you get that sense of, well, this is the right thing for me, and this is...
Well, it's taken me a long time, and I've been working in the industry for 14 years now. And I've asked a lot of questions myself, and I'm very skeptical, and I have a hard time accepting things unless I have all the information. And so my goal now is that hopefully I can find a way to communicate what I've learned so that it doesn't take other people 14 years. But I think that's a good story for people to hear, that I had to feel really confident that what I was doing was the right thing before I'm able to speak up this publicly about it. And I've had cycles where I've strongly questioned it. Like I was in the control room at Diablo Canyon when Fukushima happened, and we were watching the news, in the other room, and it was horrifying. And so after that, I'm questioning: am I in the right industry? Am I in the right career? And is it okay for me to still like my job? And am I doing the right thing? And when more information finally came out about what actually happened over there, it was more clear that it was a lot of overreaction, and the actual impact to people or the environment from the plant itself is pretty minimal. So that's disturbing to me, that we cause such a big response just by being afraid of it. And so I try to communicate with people that it's all right to have questions, and it's all right to have feelings, and try and address those, and trying to figure out what the truth is and be open to new information.
Good. Alan, you've recently joined Environmental Progress, is that correct?
Environmental Progress is a pretty young organization, about a year and a half old. So, they actually got their start in my home state in Illinois, working to save a couple of nuclear power plants that were scheduled to be closed. by Exelon, and with a lot of help from our, friends of our friends that weren't our enemies, or however that goes, we actually got some legislation passed that provided some financial relief for those, in addition to a lot of other good energy policy elements of that legislation that helped the state. So we had lots of people on our side for the bill, but there were lots of people that were not specifically excited about bailing out, quote unquote, bailing out the nuclear plants.
So you contributed to saving people's jobs. How many people would you say employees would that include?
I think each of those two plants probably employs 800 or 900 people. So so those people, some of them would have gone to other plants, and we have a lot of nuclear plants in northern Illinois, but any one of those people would have had to pick up and move, and so it would have been a hardship for them to have to do that. But even more important than that, I think for the communities, they would have just been devastated. I mean, Clinton would have just been, they would have lost half of their tax base or something. I mean, it was just an immense amount that a plant like that provides for the community within which it operates, and not just the money, but the people that are there do volunteer work, and those the people that work there have good jobs, and they pay well, and so they contribute in so many ways, and so there was a lot of concern about that, so that was. But that was really we started working on that before we even came up with a name for environmental progress. So
That's great. Good name. And you were with Michael Schellenberger, who's had his name in the news a lot lately.
Yep.
And
he's really the father of the organization, and currently the president, and he works really hard to ask hard questions and to really bring it to the other environmentalists that aren't pro-nuclear, and help them see why the way that they look at this and the way that they act is not helping in many ways. And so and he's good at just finding those things to bring out. And he's incredibly prolific as a writer, and he inspires a lot of people. He's one of those people that you really you don't want to call him a genius, but there's elements there, right?
Right.
And so he's been a real inspiration to me.
Also a good
it's taught me a
researcher.
lot.
Good at research.
Good at research. He's good at finding people that can do really, really good research, and he's gotten a couple of those. So we've all been benefiting. I think Mothers for Nuclear uses that material regularly, and as does Generation Atomic and other individuals that are out there like me.
Yeah, that's good. I wanted to ask the idea that you mentioned earlier. You said something about how a nuclear reactor that's old ends up having renewal, and it's not really as old as people might imagine because so many of the components are. Can you?
Yeah, so a question that's come up a number of times at this conference, lots of people are concerned about aging plants, aging infrastructure, and that's something that I hear from people that are opposed to continued operation of Diablo Canyon, and also my plant in California. And my opinion is that we do an amazing amount of maintenance, preventative and corrective and scheduled maintenance on all of our equipment that's important. And when stuff breaks, we fix it. It hardly ever breaks, though, because we maintain it so well. And we've also continually upgraded a lot of our systems. We have digital control systems now in lots of our secondary systems in the plant. And it's been a constant process of upgrading and making things better and preventing failures that happen. Maybe something broke at our plant, so how do we make sure that never happens again? And we use experience from around the industry, around the world. That's one thing that's really great about nuclear, is we all share our information really far and wide to make sure we're as good as we can possibly be all the time.
Michael Schellenberger, who we just mentioned, wrote a nice article about how when he first heard they were talking about shutting you down, you have one of the best run nuclear plants in the country.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful too.
Yeah, he likes to show off the picture of the plant with the whale jumping in front of it. So it is an amazing picture.
Yeah. So that's great. I mean, all the plants are pretty well run. I mean, flawless records.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't really know until this year because our industry emphasizes safety so much all the time. For one, I think it actually scares people more to keep talking about safety so much because then they're like, well, why do they keep saying safe all the time? Why are they saying it so much? Is it real? And we're overly focused on that. I forgot what the question was.
Oh, no, I just wanted you to elaborate on his saying that the plant is such a great plant, and it's, perhaps you could mention the water desalination.
Oh, I thought there was something else you asked that I was...
Just to boast about the plant. But
Yeah, well, Diablo Canyon provides power for our own desalination facility that we have on site, and that's how we make all the fresh water that satisfies the needs of the plant. And that facility is also modular, so we could theoretically expand it. And we've gone through various stages of having agreements with our county to provide water for firefighting or water for other purposes if they ever need it. And there was an idea at one point too of actually building a water pipeline to connect into the county water system, and that became less of an option once they announced that they were not going to relicense the plant because it would be a shorter lifetime. And
I mean,
not
it's just
financially
crazy.
worth it.
It's crazy that California has some of the worst droughts in the country.
Yeah,
and
up
they've got
until this year, yeah, we had 4 or 5 years of really bad drought, and I don't really understand either how we could ignore that amazing source of water, and it doesn't really fit with the statements that we don't need power from Diablo Canyon for customers because we could just use that extra power to make water, and that would be amazing, and it seems like it would benefit everyone.
What do you have to say about your plant? You have an Arkansas plant, right?
We do, and generally, from what I can tell from the general public, nobody knows much about it. They just don't think about it. It's
Right.
not in the news.
They take it for granted.
Right, they take it
They
for
get lots of
granted.
energy, but they're happy with their power supply.
Right, and although I know that the people of Russellville, where the plant is located, they consider it a very good neighbor, and 900 jobs for a relatively small town would devastate that economy. So there, again, that happens when these plants shut down prematurely. It has an operating extension until 2035, and we are a regulated utility, so it's not in immediate danger of closing. On the other hand, things can change.
Do you have a
And
renewable energy portfolio?
We do not.
Okay, that's good.
We do have factions in the state that are lobbying for that type of thing, net metering for solar and so on, but and I've tried to talk with those folks, and it's amazing that the benefits that type of policy would provide are minuscule compared to the amount of clean power that Arkansas Nuclear One provides.
How much coal do you have in Arkansas?
We're predominantly a coal state.
Okay.
There's some hydro, there's more natural gas now, but we're predominantly coal. For example, the southern part of the state where the nuclear plant is, their carbon footprint for electricity is about 60% of the power produced in the north part of the state, which is predominantly coal and gas. So that's huge, and that's just that one single plant that makes the difference.
Okay, that's great. I want to just sum up by asking you to say a closing remark, maybe perhaps either what you feel you can take home from this conference or what you want to say to somebody about how they should view nuclear energy.
I think it's going to take all of us supporting nuclear. We're in a really hard spot right now with people not appreciating it for the value that it provides, and the industry in a lot of ways has done this to itself, and in terms of, you know, not standing up for itself and just kind of flying under the radar. And so I think we need to come out and be proud of what we do and show people how amazing it is, and all stick up for it because it's the right thing for humans, for human health, for the planet, for the future.
What's the name of your website?
mothersfornuclear.org.
Great. Alan?
I really, you know, it always drives home to me just just how much of a clean energy crisis we have right now, not only in this country but in the world, you know, especially in the world. And so many things depend on people having enough energy to, you know, do the things that we in the West just kind of take for granted. So we just have a lot of work to do, and I'm always so encouraged, and I have so much hope when I come to something like this. When I get to the end, and I've gotten to see people that I only see once every year or two. You know, I chat with them online maybe, but otherwise I don't get to interact directly with them, and I get to hear lots of good news. You know, there's also, you know, news that isn't so good, but it's mostly, you know, for me it's always encouraging stuff. And you know, my company doesn't send me here. I mean, I pay to attend the conference, and I pay to get here, and I pay to stay someplace when I'm here, and you know, and so it's, you know, it's a passion for me, and I like to think that shows in some ways to the people that I talk to about it, because I think that helps to validate, you know, the things that I'm working for in their minds, and so that's important.
Great, thanks.
I completely agree with everything that Heather and Alan have said, but to that I will add that the U.S. is in a particularly difficult spot right now because we're a developed nation. Our demand for power is not growing. We don't feel a great need to change. On the other hand, globally, we have 2 billion people that have no access to power. So we have an ethical, moral responsibility to lift them out of poverty. But also, we need to provide plentiful, clean energy to repair the damage that modern civilization has caused to the biosphere. I'm talking about atmospheric and ocean damage. It will take energy to repair that environmental damage. So our challenge is we don't need the energy now, but I think we are best suited to help provide that technology that can provide the massive amounts of energy we need to fix the world's problems. So the people here at this conference show that is indeed possible. They're showing a way forward, and it's just very hopeful.
At the end of the conference, they were doing the impossible dream, and it seemed like it's not that impossible, right?
That's right.
Not if we all work together.
Okay, great, thanks.